regular meeting number 21, November 21, 2016. Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Councilman Billica.
Here.
Councilman Veronica.
Here.
Councilwoman Kitty. Here. Councilman Madigan.
Here.
Supervisor McMurray.
Here. Today's invocation will be done by the Whitehaven Road Baptist Church. Is Pastor Gwynn here today? Pastor Gwynn? Is there another representative of the Whitehaven Baptist Church here today? Is there another pastor or reverend in attendance? Is there anyone who would like to offer a short prayer? Then I'm going to do it. So please rise. Chris will follow with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stay standing. Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to gather here today before you and have this opportunity to express ourselves in this public forum. We are grateful for the right to express ourselves. We pray that we do so today in a way that is respectful of others. We'd also like to thank you for this wonderful week, this Thanksgiving week. And we pray that we have safety among our families. We pray for those who do not have families. And we thank you for all that we have to enjoy and be part of in this wonderful nation. And with that, we close this with the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, we're going to begin with the public comments section. Before we do that, I'm going to announce that when we get to that section regarding the West River Greenway Connector Trail Bike Path update, that items A through E will be removed from the agenda. There will be no vote on those items tonight. With that being said, I'm going to ask you all, there's a lot of people here, there's a lot of people outside. We need to have a forum that keeps decorum. I want you to refrain from clapping or cheering or booing or jeering when someone says something you agree with or disagree with on any subject. This is a town board meeting, and to conduct the meeting properly, we need silence, we need quiet when people speak. It is very difficult to get to this mic and speak. We don't have people mocking or otherwise interfering with their right to speak or their confidence in their ability to speak. If you disrupt the meeting, there's a police officer on hand who will ask you to leave, ask you to leave because you are not obeying the rules of the forum. With that being said, I open the mic. Please keep your comments short. Only say your name. We're going to limit you to 2 minutes. If you attack any of the councilmen or any member of the crowd, we're also going to cut you off. This is not a forum for that. With that, let's begin. The mic is open.
Derek Klein. I'm here to speak about the Code Enforcement Office, the number 2 installation of sidewalk in 1993 Marjorie. My cousin owns that property in 1993 Marjorie, and he's unable to be here tonight to speak to the town board about it. It's been an issue for him over the last few years, and he would just like the opportunity. He was made aware last week that this was on the town board agenda, and he would like to be here to state his, I guess to state his case of what he would like done. I know background behind it, but it's not, I guess, for me to discuss in front of the board, other than he would like to do that in front of you in person. So, thank you.
Robert Eddy. This is in regard to trapping. The issue of trapping on Grand Island has been going on for almost a year now. not shared any specific information on where traps may be allowed on public land. The board members have met with trappers to discuss and to receive suggestions for where trappers should go. But up to this point, the Grand Island public has not received any list of properties or maps as to where trapping may be allowed. We are in the dark on this matter, and it doesn't seem to, there doesn't seem to be any transparency in this process. This is not fair to individuals and families who may be affected by this decision by the town board. We deserve the opportunity as to see where traps are going to be considered, and the public has the right to know where the town board will allow trapping, especially as it will be providing permission to trap on lands that might be right next to our backyards. Thank you.
Good evening, Nicole Gerber. I'm also speaking to the topic of trapping, which is section 12, I believe, on the agenda. In order for town officials to provide permission for the trapping applicant to use public lands for sport trapping, the community really wants to know how those considerations of health, safety, and welfare are going to be applied given the information request that was sent to the town just yesterday and 10 days ago from a concerned resident. A resident that is so alarmed and disgusted and angered by what was occurring in their neighborhood, blatant disregard of the trapper for their nature trail, illegal placement of traps, hidden dangers to families and pets, horrendously cruel, unnecessary, and self-serving, inhumane treatment of animals. This resident informed over a dozen families in the neighborhood and wrote to you directly to request you stop this, I quote, barbaric activity. The trappers placed multiple traps within 5 feet of this nature trail that's used by the residents, and also has placed a trap on the trail. A trap was illegally placed on private property that's posted. Traps are placed near Necky Base and the concurrent and adjacent trails that are around there. This is what the resident experienced for several days with the traps in the neighborhood, and I quote, "We heard a horrible noise and came upon a coyote snared in one of the traps. This is probably the most heartbreaking, disgusting noise you can imagine. This poor animal was writhing in pain and screaming and stopped to look at us, as almost begging to help it. I have no idea how long it was there, and it was still there almost 3.5 hours later, still writhing and howling with pain by the time the trapper came over to shoot this poor animal. This to me is disgusting and unacceptable." And then 3 days later, she woke up at 2 a.m., her entire family, to hear the coyote, another coyote, howling in a trap. And it howled all day long until 4 o'clock when the trapper came to put the animal out of its misery. But at this point, they had taken multiple pictures prior to shooting the animal. The resident stated, and I quote, "What can we do but lie to the children about why they keep hearing awful screaming throughout the day and be sickened that the town is allowing this to occur in order to accommodate someone who wants to trap in our backyard?" So with that in mind, the consequences are that this is creating an extremely scary situation that affects neighborhoods of families, friends, dog walkers, horseback riders who use trails. This affects the children who play in the fields and woods, and the woods increase. Residents are fearful, and I appreciate the consideration of all the town member boards to take this into consideration when looking at the public lands throughout the neighborhoods that you will be applying traffic permits for. Thank you.
Caitlin Conlon. All right, so I'm also going to talk about the trapping, which is number 12 on the agenda. The thing I would just like to point out is something that's kind of been reiterated, but I just wanted to, bring some emphasis and attention to the fact that, this trapping permit is going to only be talking about public land, and the trapper in question that has submitted an application has multiple other private properties, so just keep in mind that whatever your decision is on the permit and the lands that he can use, he also has multiple other locations that he's already trapping in, so it isn't just, cutting it out altogether. So, thank you.
Good evening, Dave Riley. Downstairs, there was a discussion about tabling the issue of trapping, and the question that I would like to ask of the board is, how many chances does an applicant get to apply and to reapply for a permit before the town decides that it's too risky to allow them to trap on public land? in their initial application, which included 35 different locations, he requested trapping on the town commons, parks, playground areas, land around the linear bike path, all areas that would put the public and our pets at great risk. There are also now, before and after, many first-hand accounts where on multiple occasions he has placed traps right next to and on trails. And in the latest revised application, the trapper is once again asking for the ability to trap in a town park. According to the town map, SBL 37.04/1/4413 is a town park. The Conservation Advisory Board rejected the idea of reviewing the application because they were not willing to go through individual parkland and to make that determination on their own. They rejected the application because they said it was not their job to weed out the areas in which it would be illegal to trap. But he has another one of these on his most recent list. Today I spoke with an engineer who's in charge of the grounds for Entercom, which is a radio station on Staley Road. He told me that there were traps placed on that land without their permission. This is private land where once again this trapper was trapping illegally. So I ask you, when will you make a decision and protect the public instead of trying to serve the interests of one trapper? How many different examples do we have to see of blatant disregard of the public safety and of the rules before that decision is made? And I would ask one other thing. You mentioned that you would not take this back to the Conservation Advisory Board. Their expertise is in looking at trophic cascades, in looking at the impacts of actions on specific species. How many gray fox do we have on the island? And I would guess that the town board has no idea, and yet he's asking to trap gray fox. The same thing for river otter, which is a protected species. I ask you to consider those and send it back to the Conservation Advisory Board so they can lend their expertise on this. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Jill Neuhaus. A few months ago at a town board meeting, I heard a citizen bashing our town supervisor for using Facebook as a social media outlet. This sparked my interest. I decided to check it out. I have since liked the page and followed it. And I have, however, been inundated with sponsored ads from Mike Madigan since September. Day after day, these ads continue to fill my feed, popping up as soon as I log in. What is all this, I ask myself. And so I check on it, and I feel it's about the bike path that's on the agenda.
Miss, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's on the
It's on the agenda.
Yes, if it's going to be paving the bike path, you can continue.
Yes, I do not feel that social media is the way that a town councilman should reach out to the public who does not follow him voluntarily. My husband has communicated with him, giving him hard facts. He's been ignored and blocked like many of us sitting in here today.
Miss,
Yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Please keep it to the agenda items. Thank you.
it is. It's about the bike path because that's what the posts are about. I choose to follow who I follow on Facebook because I choose to follow them, not because I want their ideas shoved down my throat if I don't agree with them. Thank you.
Pat Kostenbauer. I wanted to read something from the Grand Island Dispatch from Friday, July 11th, 2014. A Ward Park resident told the Grand Island Town Board that she expected to retire to the duplex she owned for the last 14 years, but a neighboring property changed her mind. Myself, Patricia Kostenbauer, told the board at its monthly meeting in the Town Hall Monday that she expected to spend her retirement in her home in 80 Ward Park. However, we have changed of plans because a transient vacation home came next door. Because of the problems with the house, because they continually use this illegal transient vacation home, which is a business in a residential area, we've decided to sell our duplex. Ironically, when we put the duplex on the market, the owner of the transient home next door was the first and highest bidder paying cash. So we are sorry to leave the duplexes with two places next door to each other running a business illegally. In November, the town sent cease and desist letters to 13 property owners in residentially zoned neighborhoods for allegedly running transient or tourist home businesses, renting their property by the day to various individuals. Neighbors complained that the tenants of the transient homes are loud, create parking, traffic, and quality of life problems. Kostenbauer said the issues persist. After living on the island for 65 years at that time, I thought we could depend on the town to enforce the rules regarding running a business in a residential area. The councilman said that the town board feels equally frustrated as she does. He added that a day doesn't go by without a board member fielding a phone call asking about the transient or tourist home business. They asked if the town can enforce the law now during ongoing litigation in the matter. They said they can, and the town is not precluded from moving forward. So they said way back in 2014 that they were able to, even with the ongoing litigation, were able to enforce the rules. That is one of the reasons we moved out of the duplex and back into the house on East Park. When I became a, pardon? Oh, 2 minutes? Okay. Thank you.
Frank Greco, West River Parkway. I'm going to speak on the Parkway closure. The West River Parkway closure has me completely confused. New York Parks is proposing to spend $2.5 million to close the parkway to car traffic and move 1,500 cars a day to West River Road. Then moving the existing Greenway bike path about 30 yards west to the closed parkway, so that 40 bicycle people, and that's the parks data, get to be about 30 yards closer to the river. In addition to that, everything stays the same for walkers, picnickers, rollerbladers, duck hunters, horseback riders, scuba divers, and snowmobilers. Nothing changes, other than getting 30 yards closer to the river. In addition, we've had numerous bikers that spoke here at this forum that indicate that the existing bike path is one of the safest bike paths in Western New York. In addition, the bike club, who make up a lot of those 40 people, indicated that they will continue to use the existing Greenway bike trail along the West River Road. And after the parkway is made into a bike path, they will continue to use the existing bike path. So there's my confusion. I don't understand why we spend $2.5 million to get us nowhere.
Bonnie Fitzgerald, West River resident. I personally just wanted to thank Mike Madigan for his persistence and doing due diligence for the islanders who want to keep the parkway open. I also want to thank Ray Villica and Chris Veronica for supporting us and not wanting the parkway closed. Thank you.
My name is Mark Glass. I live in North County Road. As you know, I'm against the tourist homes. I was curious about the planning board's findings, and will the town board follow the planning board's recommendations? As far as the trapping, I can understand their concerns, but there is also a concern that these coyotes are killing people's dogs and sometimes might attack a child. So that's got to be kind of addressed too. And as far as the bike path, I agree that most people that I talk to don't want to use it. So it's, you know, I think Mike's got a great fight, but unless you guys come and support him, there's only one man trying to stop it, you know? So I can only ask you guys to consider what you can do. I know it's a tough fight, but it's something worth fighting for the Islanders. Thank you.
Joe Steffen, West River resident. It seems like everybody was solicited on West River to put a sign out in front about closing the parkway. They were against closing the parkway, and I've noticed that the number of people who have refused the sign is about 2/3 of the residents. So unanimity of the people on West River is not as much as has been promoted. I also think that some of the problems that have been suggested that are going to result from this would be alleviated very easily at the parking lots on Staley, if there were signs posted that allowed no left turns out of the parking lots, would keep all the traffic from going down on West River. And at the other end of what I like to call the service road or West River Road, where people coming from the north, taking the first exit, and they threw away there, or people coming from the east side of the island would join to West River Service Road, a no right turn except for resident sign would alleviate all the problems that Mr. Madigan has been worried about. It would seem that it would be easily solved to keep that traffic off the service road. That's about all I had to say. Thank you.
Hi, Valerie Funk. I'm also talking about the bike path, and I did want to also thank Mike Madigan for all he has done to try and keep the state from taking our parkway away from us. I'd also like to thank Ms. Bilka and Mr. Monica for also supporting that. I think the safety issue is always has been #1 issue, and when you start diverting and taking cars off the West River Parkway and diverting them onto any other road, whether it's the service road or Baseline or Staley Road or whatever road it is, there is going to be decreased safety on whatever road they happen to use. And I just hope that you're all thinking of the future. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years from now, how much more traffic is going to be on Grand Island and how much less safe these roads are going to be when they could be, these cars could be still using the parkway if we don't close it. So, I probably won't be around in 30 years, but, I have my children and my grandchildren, and I'd like you all to consider what we're doing to Grand Island and what we're leaving for our families, our kids, and our grandkids. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Chuck Turner. I belong to the Niagara Frontier Bike Club. We come here twice a week to go bike around the island. I live on the island. I can tell you the service road is not wide enough to ride your bikes on. On the shoulder, it's very dangerous. It's only 1 feet wide. People coming from both ways, cars coming out of driveways, being on a path that doesn't, you don't have to worry about any cars coming. That's where we need to be. I've heard that we don't want to ride on the path. We can't wait to ride the path. It's going to be safe, it's going to be smooth, and it's also going to be safe. Thank you.
Hi, Kathy Steffen, West River resident. First of all, I'd like to thank Nate for all of his work in promoting the West River bike path. I think that it is a wonderful opportunity to connect Buffalo, Niagara Falls, be part of the overall trail system that's being put into place. As for the 40 bikes a day, I've counted in the summertime many, many more bikes per day. I've counted over 20, 25, 30 per hour. So I think the bike path, as well as any non-motorized recreational use, is absolutely wonderful. So thank you, Nate.
Good evening. My name is Jen Daney, and I live on Long Road with my husband and my 2 young boys, close enough to West River to see it from my window, so I'm almost a West River resident. It's my reason for speaking tonight, but I quickly want to thank each of the 5 board members for their service. Both what we see you do and the many things we don't see you do. I don't think you hear that very often from this microphone, so thank you for each of you for what you're doing. It's hard to unify people, not because we're wrong and we're right, but because we are so different. Unifying 20,000 plus islanders on one single thing could be difficult. So we have elected leaders that we can provide input to via this venue, who then use their varied experience and expertise to make decisions. But even unifying 5 at times can be hard. We've seen it for the last year. And just like we, as citizens, have a chance to voice our concerns to those in authority over us, you have as well. The state has made a decision. As a board, you have given them feedback. They have used their areas of expertise to modify some plans they had and also allow some items to remain the same. Good leadership knows who they lead and also who they submit to. Not getting your way at times is an unfortunate part of the job you have committed to. I do respectfully request all 5 board members, for the sake of ending the disunity on Grand Island and to allow for time and energy to be spent on additional island needs, to not attempt to impede the state from moving forward as planned. Please know your role and help us all to move forward. In closing, and I will say this as respectfully as I can, Mr. Madigan, in relation to the West River Bike Path, please make sure your online social media behavior is above reproach because of the position to which you were elected. Thank you.
Hi, Kristen Pirak. I've been an island resident most of my life. I have to say that I'm really ecstatic to see that this bike path will hopefully come through. I have a 3-year-old son, and we have a bike path not far from where I live on Settlers Row. We use that all the time, every day, and I would love to have him have the opportunity to ride his bike, his tricycle, along the waterfront. You know, most island residents, we don't have access to the water, and I think that this would be an incredible experience for the future. You know, some people are speaking about the future and how that's going to impact us. I think it would be such a positive impact to have our future generations have access to that waterfront and ride their bikes safely.
Hello, my name is Neil Gallagher. I'd like to first thank the town board for letting us get up here and talk. My one thing is on social media and everything we see all these numbers. We see things that can't be proven by any kind of study, such as the 1,500 cars on West River Road. I'd like to see an official study that says there's going to be 1,500 cars on West River Road, or even 700 or 800, whatever we're going to talk about. But my prepared statements, since the agenda was amended, I'd just like to now say I want to see all 5 members of this town board, once this option number 5 comes through and engineering study is done, I want to see everybody finally put this to bed. If we have option 3, we have option 5, we have option 4, we have engineering studies for everything. Just, they've given you what you wanted, put it to bed, let it go. We have so many other issues that we need to deal with. Putting this on the agenda for 8 times in a row is ridiculous. Put it to bed. Deal with what the state says. Thank you.
Hi, it's Rose Bugman. I'm just going to respond to a few things that I heard, that everyone seems to think that we are opposed to bike path. And partially, you're responsible for this, because you keep referring to the only option as closing the parkway. In addition to the name calling that you did, we corrected you.
Excuse me.
Okay, I just was saying that this is a two-way street.
Please address the agenda items.
All right. So what I'm trying to say is that there were 5 options. You supported number 3. There were 4 other options, or actually 3 other options, which were viable. So it's not that we're opposed to closing the parkway. What we're opposed to, well, we are opposed to closing the parkway because there are so many other viable options, which will give you exactly the same thing. If a bike path needs to go in, it doesn't have to have a road closing. Even though you're not affected by 1,500 cars a day, and there are studies that have come in that show that this is what may happen. That's going to go past our house, and it's only going to increase over the years. So we have genuine concerns. We're not elitist, we're not wealthy, we're not lying, and all the other names you can call it. We are concerned about our safety and our children's safety. And I think that should be taken into consideration.
Hi, Eric Nowakowski, just a couple quick points. First of all, when we're talking about the extra traffic that goes on if the parkway is closed, where does that extra traffic go the 4 months when the parkway is closed? I've never heard any arguments about the parkway and the congestion and extra traffic when it's closed during the winter months. Second of all, the West River Road residents have had the opportunity to have something that none of the other roads in all of Grand Island have, a second road. I grew up on Long Road. It's a busy street. I've ridden my bike on every single road on Grand Island. There is not going to be an issue if the parkway is closed. That road is still one of the safest roads of all Grand Island, and I would say of Western New York. The one thing that I do completely agree with the West River residents on, though, is the bad upkeep by the DOT on the property in and around the service road and the parkway. And from what I understand, I believe that that is going to be moved over to the state parks as far as the ability to take care of, maintain, and I would really like to see that. And I agree with the residents, if it's not upkept, that's unfair. And the last thing I have is just the fact that if we don't move on and if we sue, okay, I would reiterate what everyone else said. We're focusing on one agenda, we're not moving on to other important things. Also, at least the last time I know, as far as a large or major lawsuit where the town sued River Oaks Marine, we lost a $1.5 million settlement. Are we prepared to do that? That's all I have.
Michelle Minix, West River Road. I just wanted to talk about a couple of things today. First of all, I want to address the comments that, everybody should just accept whatever. My feeling is that this entity, the town council, is charged with representing its citizens and looking out for the best interest of this community. And if the state does something or enacts something that is that is not in the best interest of this community, then I feel that this entity should pursue remediating that. I don't feel that the position of the town council should be to roll over. I think that there's been a lot of misinformation that's been put out. I think that there has been sometimes a lack of information. For instance, at the last meeting, when the various plans were presented, there was a comment about not being able to build condominiums. But that wasn't the issue. The issue was whether or not you could build. And afterwards, when I went up and I spoke privately with the gentleman afterwards, and I said directly, can you build on this land? The answer was yes. If it becomes parkland, they can do whatever they want. They can put up concessions. They can build little huts. They can do whatever they want. And so I do agree with what one of the other speakers said about having 30 years to look forward. We are talking about something that's very serious here. It really does reflect on what the future of Grand Island is going to be and what this community perceives as what they would like that waterfront to be. It currently is accessible to all. Anyone who wants to access that water has the ability to do it now. If we close the parkway, we're actually going to be inhibiting access because we will force people who are not able-bodied back. To suggest that moving 1,500 cars from a parkway to a service road is not going to cause safety problems defies logic. Thank you.
Nancy Killian, 10 Ward Park. This is my third time asking, whatever happened to the option of do nothing? People early on voted for do nothing, and somehow it's been lost in the shuffle. Why aren't we still discussing with the state the option of doing nothing?
This is not a dialogue. This is your opportunity to voice your opinion.
I've asked 3 times and I haven't heard why it's been lost in the shuffle. I was at the workshop earlier, and I heard the woman speaking from the Niagara Commission that would be helping perhaps with this plan to develop the parkway and the bike path. And she suggested that maybe volunteers would want to step forward to help with maintaining it. Admission of the fact that they are not going to be maintaining it. They're already looking for recruits to help them. Doesn't sound like a good plan to me.
Mike Petrus, West River. Can I just, the reason was to give all of Western New York and Niagara Falls and Buffalo a scenic parkway to get to Beaver Island. And if you're talking about tourism, there's many more people that come along that parkway. And when I've been walking there, they stop and say, this is just such a beautiful road. And they come along from Canada, from all over the place. So I really believe it's much more used by islanders and people off the island as a parkway. I don't think it has to be either or. A bike path can be built without closing the parkway. And Mr. Billick alluded to it last time. I don't think that the town would have applied for this money if they knew that the upshot of it was going to be for the parkway to be closed and all the rest of the traffic to go on the inside parkway. So it's a breach of contract in many forms, and I think it should be fought. And I think it should be a lawsuit if that's what it comes down to.
Alrighty, Deb Vernon, once again, I say we keep the parkway open. A simple path alongside could still be made possible. If we need to, definitely go with a lawsuit to keep it open. The South Parkway is a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. There's no guardrails on that. Kids bike up and down on that all day long. Heck, there's a school there that a car can careen out the road and go slamming into them too. So the excuse for closing down the parkway is useless. And we do have many, many cars that go on that a day, even according to your survey, 1,500 cars go on that. That was by the DOT that did that. Okay, anyway, thank you guys for helping out and sticking with the fight to keep the parkway open. If you need to, put a little strip down the side like the original plan called for. If you don't have the money to do that, then leave it alone.
How's it going? My name is Jeff Rowley. I'm actually in favor of closing the parkway, option 3. I think it would be safest for families with small children. As myself, I have 2 kids. Jen mentioned she has kids. Kristen mentioned she had kids. The safest option, and the state obviously weighed the decision on this, is that option 3 is the safest, to close the parkway and not have cars driving by what the option 4 was. This new option 5, I think, is not going to benefit the town, because who's going to decide when it's open and when it's closed? Once again, the state has done their due diligence. They've done their study. They've taken the engineer's data, and they've figured out that option 3 is the safest option, and that the parkway should be closed for families with kids and for everybody to enjoy the bike path. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Mike Chicato. First off, to the council members, thank you very much for your service to the town and to its residents. As a bit of a different perspective, just some observations of mine. Over the past few years, 6 houses on my street have sold, all to families, younger kids. They were original owners that turned it over. The 3 major daycare centers here on the island have all experienced significant expansion relatively recently. And while the island may be undergoing demographic changes, the sense of community remains and what draws people to this island and want to call it home. The state has provided their plan, taken feedback from residents and stakeholders, and modified their plan to do the most good for the most people. I would ask that the board members move forward, accept the decision by the state now that they have provided feedback, and work on many other issues that are before this town. Thank you.
Richard Fitzgerald, West River Road. Just thank Mr. Madigan, Mr. Billick, and Mr. Monica for their diligence and putting out the voice of the residents of West River were concerned with shutting down of the parkway. One of the reasons, as far as I'm concerned, is the risk and liability. When you talk about the number of cars, whether the number is 5 or 1,500, it doesn't really make a difference. That many more vehicles going down West River Road causes a major issue, especially when people have kids. I think anybody in the room that has kids is concerned with that. Trying to come in and out of my driveway would be an issue with more traffic. You talk about the buses, you talk about all those other things. As far as option 5, that's to have a meeting for everybody in the room. As far as shutting down the parkway seasonally or temporarily on the weekends and things like that. The parkway's open year-round. In the winter, it's a sort of a pass at your own risk. I've helped people get off the parkway. They get stuck in the snow, as well as the police and everybody else who's gone out to help people that get stuck in the snow. But it's open year-round right now, and I'm for option 5, share the road.
If there's no further comments, I will close the meeting, the public comment period. What's that? If people want to speak, please queue up now so we have the opportunity for everyone to be heard.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Noel Petras, Brown, West River. I would also like to thank the councilmen, Mr. Aronica, Mr. Bilica, and Mr. Madigan, and all the other council members, but especially you that have fought for what is right. I've said before, the land, and this has been said before tonight, but the land was taken by the state by force against our will because they said we needed a road. And now they're saying that they no longer want to pay for the road. So now they simply want to close it. And despite the fact that, you know, it's going to have a big impact on the people that have lived there for 60 years, my family being one of those. I support the council in pursuing whatever action they feel is necessary against the state for doing something that's wrong. You know, I will be here in 30 years, and my children will be here in 30 years. And, you know, it is a legacy to us, and the land is very important to us. So it is a very important issue. And I do feel that, you know, if the issue needs to be carried forward, that it should be carried forward. I would also, you know, like to remind the council that, you know, it was said earlier that specific council members should not be singled out, and several members of the audience have singled out specific members of the council without reprimand. So the whole Facebook thing, I don't believe audience members should be able to single out Councilman Madigan for Facebook issues. So that's what I say.
Good evening, Sandra Nelson, West River. I've been before you numerous times. We grew up on West River. We walked, we biked. As kids, we weren't allowed to play baseball on that parkway or walk on it. We got chased off of it. I understand people want to enjoy the waterfront. It's open to you. Come and enjoy it. Don't shut down a road that services so many people. Don't disrupt all the wildlife that's down there along the river. Mike has wonderful points about that. I watch those birds, the egrets, all the geese, everything that's there. People that enjoy that bike riding, horseback riding, snowmobiling. There's no reason to close a road. You have every bit of access to it now that we ever had for all the years I've lived there. It's open. Go enjoy it. It's a park already. I hear make it a park. It is a park. That's what it was dedicated as back in 1948 when they took that property away from my parents. You have no reason to sit here and keep telling us that we're entitled. We aren't entitled. We lived there our whole lives. We paid the taxes to be there. We have never stopped anyone from this island from coming over there to enjoy everything we have to show. You're never going to have access to that water. That is international waterways, 100 feet off our shores. If you're on your boat, the police from the Royal Mounted Canadian Police come and check out your boats. You better call and be registered. You cannot be in that water. It's not our property. You can see it. Don't think you're going to go kayak in it, because you really can't. Call up and ask. You know, you have Beaver Island, you have Buckhorn. Those are all accessible to you. Thank you. Don't close the parkway.
George Zammett, West River Road. I'm for keeping the parkway open. There's a lot of things that have been brought up with regarding safety, regarding moving the traffic on River Road, et cetera. People feel that, again, according to ADA, if you put the bike path in, the speed limit on the bike path is 30 miles per hour. That's what you can have on it. And people are talking about the bike clubs going down there. When you have small children, you're talking about another big safety issue. For small children, they should be using Beaver Island where the bike path is. The state should be taking care of that. It's really, both ends are both a safety issue. Me, myself being a paramedic, I've already seen enough of it. So, thank you.
Good evening, Tom Degatti, Colonial Drive. First and foremost, thank the five of you, and I don't envy any one of the five of you, because each of you are tasked with one of the most difficult things to do. You have to figure out what is best and what is desired by this community as a whole, whether it be the bike path or something else. And that's not always easy, because it's not about who's going to come up here and make the most noise, who's going to get the most likes on Facebook, or who's going to get the most signatures on a petition. Those are all examples of ways in which myself or anybody else who lives on this island can represent themselves to you and what they desire. But the five of you at the end of the day are tasked with determining what you see this community wants and what would be best for this community. It's not about a particular group. It's not about the West Rivers Homeowner Association and the pro-bike pass. It's not about a divide between the Republicans and the Democrats. And I just want to reiterate that and hope that at the end of the day, doesn't matter who elected you, how long you've been here, this is about the community. And it's about what this community wants, not about any one councilman or any one group or any single anything. So at the end of the day, just be sure to do as best you can, and I trust the five you are, to weed through the extremists on each side and do your best to look at it in an unbiased way to determine what would be best for this community as a whole. Thank you.
Hi, Don McLeod. I also wanted to talk about West River Parkway. I moved here about a year ago from Texas, moving back to Grand Island, bought a house on West River, knowing that there was going to be a bike path installed along the river. It sounded like a great idea. Now, a year later, that's not being installed as it was originally planned, but instead the talk is to close the parkway. And I don't understand why we want to spend $2.5 million, or whatever the number is, of taxpayer dollars to make everything less accessible than it is now. I think today is an excellent example. 3, 4, 6 months of the year is like today. It's not a beautiful sunny day where people are out bike riding, but people are all driving back and forth down the parkway today. And that happens year-round with the exception of a few weeks in the winter. And I think it's a big mistake to close that and spend dollars to make the parkway and West River less usable. Thank you.
With that, I'm going to close the public comment period, and I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. Oh, excuse me. I'll entertain a motion to accept past minutes from the regular town meetings. Number 20. Let me just pause for a second. If anyone wants to leave, you can leave now. Why don't I have a break so we can let some pressure out of people if people want to leave. There will be another period of comments at the end with unrelated to the agenda, but I want that opportunity. Is anyone wants to escape? Okay, be honest. No, it doesn't say. Okay. With that, I'm going to continue on. So I'll entertain a motion to accept past minutes from regular town board meetings number 20, as well as workshop meetings number 54 through 55.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor? I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda. We received the following: vehicle and facility usage reports for the Golden Age Club for October, Meeting minutes from the Historic Preservation Advisory Board for October. Meeting minutes from the Zoning Board of Appeals for October. Meeting minutes from the Board of Architectural Review for October. Meeting minutes from the Planning Board public hearing on October 11, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Madigan, do you want to make some comments about, well, we have to make a motion to remove these items, so let's do that first. I'll entertain a motion to remove items A through E.
Word is rescind.
Oh, it's removed.
Okay, great.
Items A through E, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, just so that people have the update here, Supervisor McMurray and I had a very constructive approximate 2-hour meeting today with New York State Parks. The primary focus of today's meeting was on reviewing compromise option 5, the share the road compromise that was proposed by Ray Billica last week. New York State Parks Director Mark Thomas is committed to performing a comprehensive review of option 5, share the road. Based on the action taken by New York State Parks, I did decide to rescind my motions A through E at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman Madigan. Moving forward to communications from John Whitney in Engineering. John is requesting approval for change order number 1 to job M-14-2016. The highway resurfacing contract has been completed. The favorable unit prices received is allowing us to expand the upper lot of the town hall and resurface the entire lot under this contract. The additional work is estimated at $25,420. The funds are available in 2013 Town Hall parking lot BN. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 9, there's two communications from the Code Enforcement Office regarding sidewalks. I will entertain a motion to table these motions, to table these items.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Or second?
Second.
Yes, sir.
All in favor?
Yes.
I just tabled, moving on.
Discussion.
Discussion?
Discussion.
You want some discussion? Go ahead.
Is there a reason?
Well, the reason is we received these items, but we're currently working on a comprehensive sidewalk plan. We discussed. Phase 1 of the plan is done. We've submitted a grant proposal for that phase. And I thought it was that we had decided to do a moratorium on these types of actions.
I think this was done beforehand, well beforehand. This is a situation that was brought to the attention of the homeowners quite a while ago. And what happened was, I don't know this to be the case for a fact, so maybe it was a good idea to table it, but before you do that, I think they were in front of the court and they had the ability to put the sidewalk in, or the town, if they don't put it in, the town puts it in and can amortize over 5 years on their tax roll. And that's what happened in these 2 cases. But I think you'll find that out. So, I mean, I'll honor your request to the table.
Is there any other comments regarding this?
No, I agree with Rick.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Communications from the Planning Board. The Planning Board reviewed local law intro number 7 of 2016 tourist homes at their November 14th meeting. They have the following recommendations. A, local law intro number 9 of 2015 should be retained in its present form. B, these tourist homes that are granted continuance of operation by the ZBA under local law number 9 should be subjected to performance standards in section 6C, items 1 through 15, as proposed in local law number 7, with the exception of the Tourist Home Oversight Committee referred to section 6C, number 3. And finally, they are not in favor of the establishment of the Tourist Home Oversight Committee because adequate enforcement is already in place within the town through code enforcement.
Make a motion to refer this to the town board.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you to the Planning Board. Mr. Madigan, can you give us a report of the Audit Committee?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to pay the following amounts from the following accounts. The general fund, $13,842.85. The highway fund, $18,398.81. The sewer fund, $42,733.74. The Water Fund, $6,598.68. The Capital Fund, $28,866.64. The Refuse and Garbage Fund, $118,128. The Capital Reserve, $10,933.19. And the grand total is $237,542.11.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any additional public comments? Are there any comments from the town board? Oh, I'll close the comment period. Oh, unfinished business? I apologize.
The traffic is just gonna remain on the table.
Yeah, it's gonna remain. Any comments from the town board?
I'd just like to wish everybody thanks for coming out tonight, first of all. And second of all, wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much.
I have a couple comments. I would like to address this once again because I got several calls this week with all the calls that were going around. And it came up again today, so I'd like to address it. Having spoken to the state myself, and at the last meeting that we had, the state said absolutely no yurts, cabins, concession stands, or anything of that nature will be in this, where this bike path is, no matter where it is, no matter where they put it, there will not be there. That was a rumor that was going around. They said it was absolutely not true. I asked Mark Thomas myself personally, again, just to make sure that, it was absolutely true, and he said no. He confirmed it. Supervisor McMurray, I also had a conversation with him. He also confirmed that Delaware North never has had before or now any plans to do anything of that nature, so he confirmed that as well. So I just want to put some people's minds at ease that has continually come up, and I have been reassured by the state, and I hope that you'll feel better about it, that no matter where that path goes, there will not be concession stands or cabins or yurts, whatever the heck that is. The next thing is the other thing I wanted to say is ADA path, multi-use path. This path isn't just for bikers. Someone got up and spoke earlier and said this is a path just for 40 bikers. It's not. It's for families. It's for the young and for the old and for the disability, the disabled people that want to get out and enjoy the river. So I just wanted to radiate that. It will be a linear park, which is different than a parkway, which does not allow a lot of things to happen on it because it's parkland. We take an act of alienation of parks in order to do anything that takes an act of assembly and Senate, as well as the federal government, because federal money is being used on this project as well. So almost an act of God. I do want to say, just to update a few people, we are working on other things. We're not just working on this, although this keeps coming to the forefront. Many of us are working on several different projects, be it recreation or highway or whatever. I personally have been working on a solar law, which is really needed before any solar projects come before us. I've worked many months and done a lot of research on it. I'm happy to say that I have a law that's ready to send out to my board members for a look over and go to various boards that it needs to be applied to. I also done a lot of work on broadband feasibility study. I got a preliminary contract back on that, which I'm going to be sharing with my board members as well, and that's for broadband for all municipality buildings that could save us thousands of dollars. So I just want to assure you that even though this takes the forefront in many meetings for the last several weeks, we work on multiple things, all five of us, and we work well together. And I just want to assure you that is happening as well as the bike path.
have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I wish everybody well and safe journeys on the roads if you're going to relatives. So happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, Councilman Madigan, anything?
Just happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Councilman Aronica?
Same thing, happy Thanksgiving.
I have to make a comment with Bike Path. We've gone through a lot. There's been reviews of option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4, option 5. Now, and this morning I saw what I could see as the lengthy steps that the state of New York is taking to try to make sure they understand and reflect the input of the town of Grand Island. And it's been a long process. And I know there's a lot of energy on both sides of this. I have a lot of energy about it and a lot of thoughts about it. Today, the people in attendance acted with great dignity. I've said this before, but I think today was, in particular, those who got up and thanked the members of the board, who obviously some of them did not agree with. It was very impressive to me, and the tone that was set. I'll be honest, when I saw the agenda this morning, I spent the whole day and the whole weekend preparing for war, preparing for bloodshed. And we didn't have bloodshed today, and I'm grateful for that. And I want to thank one person. I can't talk about what happened in this executive session, but there's obviously two sides of this issue. And today we had a man, Mr. Aronica. He stepped up in a way that was very noble and very representative of the crowd here tonight. And there's two people who are in this town that are quite a bit older than me that I've come to respect a great deal. One is Deputy Supervisor Sharp, and over the last year, slowly, despite the fact that we fought tooth and nails over many issues, it's Councilman Aronica. So today we had a bit of a Thanksgiving Day miracle, and I think he's partially to get credit for that. And I'd like to get a round of applause for Councilman Aronica today, if I could. With that, thank you for coming, and thank you to all the council members, and happy Thanksgiving. Meeting adjourned. Oh, wait, I always forget to do this, and I apologize. Please rise. Tonight we observe a moment of silence in memory of Wallace Wigdorsky, Michael Clucky, Jeffrey Bykowitz, Tanya Shepard, Charles Dunworth, Merle Ham. Meeting adjourned. Hey, wait a second. No offense to Councilman Aronica, he did a great job too, but it was Councilman Billick. I'm the worst with names. So, round of applause for Councilman Billick.